going on, guys? My name is Joe. Welcome back to Total Justice Gaming. We are going to be looking at another Battle Spirit Saga deck profile. We're finally moving away from white, moving into red. We are just going to see just how dangerous Jurassic King Gagano Rex is. We are going to be looking at a rush deck dealing with both Emperor Beasts and Pterosaurs. So let's get right on into it. Alright, so moving forward, we're going to be looking at a rush build of Giganorex. How this is going to be a rush deck is we are going to be only putting in drops 1 through 4. 4 copies of each with the exception of 1 utility card. Then 4 copies of Giganorex. We're going to be looking at roughly 34 creatures, I believe. 34 creatures. 8 Nexuses, 8 spells. This is a very Japanese build of the deck where there's more spirits than anything. There's not like a nice balance of the 3 like the previous builds. This is a very heavy rush deck. While not everything is too costed, we have the ability to reduce everything to make it roughly around a 2-drop, meaning we can spam. The goal of the deck is to either by turn 3 or turn 4, get Giganorex out and start smashing face. So we're looking at this deck, pushing the opponent and pressuring them with high attack power and numerous swings to probably get the kill around turn 3, right between turns 3 to 5 is where we want to try and push for kill. We want to be able to spam as much as possible, which is why we have a lot of spirits and not a lot of nexuses and magic. The magics are the 2 bursts, or we have 2 burst cards that are magics. So we will move right on through. You guys will have to bear with me. I do have to automatically resize this time around. Sizing was an issue this time. My apologies. So turn 1. So red only has 1 free turn 1 unit off what we're going, which is Pterosaur and Imperial Beast, or Emperor Beast, excuse me. So we have at 1 with 1 reduction cost, meaning this is a free unit. We have Ovori Raptidon. Not much to say about this other than this is our turn 1. If we have a Nexus out on turn 1, we can drop this. Turn 2, with multiple cores available to us. We're not looking to get high power with this. We're looking to just get on the board, start our reduction engine, which is why I love turn 1 reduction cost. It's basically a free unit. We're not there to get mass power with it. We're there to drop a single core and move on. Now, turn 2, which is something unique to this channel because we haven't had turn 2 units in a bit. In fact, I think ever. We are looking at 4 copies of Cornered Flame Rat and 4 copies of Horned Penguin. Cornered Flame Rat is 2 difficulty, 1 reduction, so 1 costed unit at 2 and 3. So for 4 cores, when it attacks, we can draw a card when we reduce life with this Spirit Sack, meaning they have to guard this, or we get a draw and they lose a life. Horned Penguin is a 1 costed unit, which if we invest 1 core, it's a 2K, and 5 cores, it's a 6K unit. Again, we are going to be running this as a 1-drop spam unit, so we don't need to worry about devoting a lot of cores to it. This is part of our reduction engine. Corner Flame Rat is our main target because we want that pressure of forcing them to block. We can sit there at 4 cores at 3K early game, push because we'll have the higher numbers, and force them to either block, and we get a kill by via PB comparison, or we get the core early and we get a free draw. I don't see the more we use him, the less dangerous he becomes because we'll have to invest more cores in him. But if we get Giganorex out with Cornered Flame Rat, he will become a 6K at level 2 rather than level 3 on swinging, meaning we'll be able to hit over numbers, especially if we have a Nexus. So we will possibly be at 7K for 4 cores, which is really good. So we'll be able to hit over numbers, hopefully take a life, get maybe 2 or 3 more draws out of this guy, but he's part of our draw engine. So he is going to be susceptible to spells, BP drain, and higher power on blocking. But if we can get Gaganorex out, then drop Cornered Flame Rat, we're in a better position to start swinging with this dude and drawing cards. Horn Penguin, honestly, I would have dropped him earlier, just because we're not really investing him as an attacker or a blocker. We're wanting him for the reduction cost. So that is why it'd be 4 copies of Horn Penguin. Moving on over to the 3s, we're running 4 copies of Dilophosa. Pretty big dude. Sitting at 3 cost, 2 reduction. 1 core gets us 4K, 3 cores gets us 8K. He does have a drawback of he can't block while during the opponent's attack step. That's fine. This guy's an aggressor. So for 5 cores, we get an 8K unit. With Gaganorex on board, hopefully after this, when he swings, he's an 11K unit, meaning he can only be blocked by X rares and sometimes only powered up by Nexus X rares. They've got to start using magic. They've got to start using other conventions to deal with this dude because he gets big so quickly. It's hard to say if you want him before or after Gaganorex. I would say if you have Gaganorex in hand and you have him in hand, it's fine to drop him that turn because you can easily push for 5 cores just let him be that 1 unit that drops this turn. We're going to be able to get the reduction pretty easily by our last 2. We're playing a Nexus and playing our free unit I spoke about earlier. It does say that he can't block, but this is purely you're not going to be able to win BB comparison battles over me. Even yellow, because they have a lot of 2K drain spells, they still got to play a good, decent blocker on this guy because draining him 2K at his level 2 just means he's a 6K and can still trample over people. We're also running 4 copies of Fear Scorer Horn Grizzly. He drops down to a 2 cost. And excuse me, I did misspoke with Dilophosa. He drops down to a 1 costed unit, a reduction of 2. That's on me. 3 costed unit, 1 reduction, meaning it's basically 2 costed. At level 2 and level 3, he gets Confront, meaning the opponent must block if able. So again, we're going to take some cues from the white decks from earlier in the channel. And I will say keeping him at a 3 and causing clash, meaning they got to start swinging, blocking with either the 3s or their 2s or the 1s, meaning we are getting rid of either a blocker or we are starting to remove their reduction engine. We can set him at a level 5 pretty easily. I mean, he's a 2-costed unit, so 7 cores mid-game would be feasible, but we're trying to rush here. So level 2 is probably our best bet because then we're only devoting 5 cores to him to get into where he needs to be. Plus, again, depending on what's in your hand, if you have Gaganorex out in the field, he's also a very good unit to be putting out because then he attacks and causes Confront for 8K, which is what our Dilophosa does naturally. So these are the 2 units I would definitely be putting in. For our level 4s, we're running 4 copies of Centaurosaurus. That's because we can use its ability. Level 4 costs 2 reduction, meaning it's a 2-costed unit. Level 1 and level 2, whenever he attacks, we can look at the top card of a deck. If it's a pterosaur, we add to hand. If not, return to the top of the deck. So we can see what we're drawing into or potentially getting a free draw. He also powers himself on his level 2. So for 5 cores, we're seeing a 5K. But then he gets an additional 1,000 BP for every pterosaur you control. This does count himself. So if we have multiple Oviraptors and him, he's 3K, meaning we're already in an 8K. So that's why we're there. Plus, additionally, if we have our Giganorex out, he can be an 11K again. So we're running him because he can get very high powered very quickly. He can potentially either scry and let us see what's at the top of the deck, or let us draw what's at the top of the deck. So he's adding to our draw engine, or at least a scry unit that lets us see, hey, we can see what we're getting next. Moving on over, we're running 4 copies of Blade Dino Parasaur. Level 1 and level 2's got Confront. Again, he's a 4-costed unit with 2 reduction, meaning he's technically a 2-costed unit. For his other level 2 is, if we got the Soul Core, we can draw a card whenever he attacks. Much like all my earlier decks, we are not very Soul Core invested. So putting the Soul Core on this dude, very easy to do. Sitting at a 5K is pretty easy. Again, it all depends on what the deck is going to be like with this. But if we play it right, we're going to be swinging at 8K, drawing a card. Or we're swinging at 8K, causing Confront to happen, meaning the opponent is forced to block. And a lot of people, Confront can hit over armor because it's not targeting anything. It's saying, hey, the opponent has to block with a unit, meaning if they only have armor units, this is how we get rid of those armor units to be able to cause outside effects happening. So, yeah, pretty good dude. We're running 2 copies of Blazing Boar, 4 difficulty, reduction of 1, so meaning a 3-costed unit. Level 1, 2, and 3, when he's summoned, we can select a red spirit from our trash, turn it to our hand. So if we get any spam units like Overraptors, we can put them back into play. We don't have to deal with him too much. Board triggers off all 3 levels. I really don't want to invest in him too heavily, but he does let us get recursion back from the discard pile or the trash, which will help us out in the long run by being able to put more spam units that we did lose earlier in the game whenever we need him. He is pretty much just a utility card, so we're only running him in at 2-drop. Next up, the big bad, Jurassic King Giganorex. We're definitely going to be running him before if he's our X-Rare. 8 difficulty with 6 reduction. Technically, a 2-costed unit. He also has the handy ability of when summoning the spirit from hand. You can count each symbol from either your Pterosaur or Emperor Beast spirits on the field as having 2 units while calculating this reduction cost, meaning having 3 units out on the field immediately makes us do the 2-costed unit. At level 1, 2, and 3, if we only have Pterosaur or Emperor Beasts on the field, we can treat him as a level 3, meaning we can invest any amount of cores in him, set him at level 2, he'll be treated as a level 3 with the level 3 battle power. At level 2 and level 3, while it attacks, we also have Confront. And at level 3, when the spirit attacks, all of our spirits gain 3,000 BP for this turn, meaning we are less susceptible to drain spells. We are less susceptible to core removal, unless it's total core removal, but we can't help that. We're red. We just beat on the face. But getting this dude online is our primary goal. Getting the reduction is very, very easy with him. We have Nexus that count as double core unit, double symbols. All of our Emperor Beasts, all of our Pterosaurs, which is what this deck is only of, lets us be able to get this reduction online. If we only we're able to get a secondary ability very easily, meaning this dude sits at a whopping 10K for a very minimal amount of power. Well, we treat the spirit as a 3. So that means when we swing, we may not necessarily have the 10K power, but we're able to trigger all of our level 3 abilities because we're treating it as a level 3 unit. Still, being able to invest 5 cores to make him a 7K with all of his abilities, because it does say when it attacks all your spirits, so it does include itself, meaning, hey, when he attacks, he's still a 10K at level 2. So we are definitely running a 4 if he's the primary deck and focus of the thing. Luckily, if we can get him out on the field by turn 3, turn 4, and we keep pushing hard at the opponent, focusing forcing them to either waste the hand or waste their units on the board. We're going to be able to take all 5 cores very quickly, very easily. Moving over to our Nexuses, we're running on 2 Nexuses, and that's it. Volcanic Canyon lets us draw an additional card, then pitch a card, meaning we can tutor anything we need out of the discard pile via the board unit, which is what combos so well with Volcanic Canyon. Also, during our attack step, we get 1,000 additional BP, meaning we hit way above average. And then, so if we have this in hand going first, we want to drop Volcanic Canyon. Without going thing. If we go second, we want to drop Ancient Fault. Ancient Fault, for its level 1 and level 2, says treat this Nexus as having 2 red symbols, meaning our reduction is already online. We're getting things going very quickly. If we want to invest a single core unit into it, that's also pretty decent because it has something that specifically works for this deck. When one of your Pterosaur spirits destroys an opposing spirit via BP, select one of your opponent's spirits with BP equal to the unit destroyed and destroy it. So if we can get, and right now everything's pretty serialized, so we can get 2 kills off of 1 trade. And since we are running units with Confront, this makes it even easier because our Confront spirits are 1 Imperial Beast, which won't trigger this, and 1 Pterosaur, which will work for this. So we can also do that pretty easily. We are only running 2 spells in this deck. They are the best spells to run in the game. We're running Star Blessed Draw, and we're running Absolute Ice Shield. I really don't feel like I need to be going into this. They're both burst effects, meaning we can get that draw 2, and then since this is a red deck, we're able to trigger this main effect very easily for a cost of 2 to draw 2 more. So basically draw 4. We just flat out lump the ability and have to plan cores easily. This is really when we start getting into like late game where this is going probably not in our favor. We could probably still salvage it thanks to Absolute Ice Shield, since we are going to have to pay 4 to end the attack step on the opponent's turn. But we still get to get a core from the reserve and back into life. So, this is like our emergency. Like, we're in danger. We need to live 1 more turn. Okay, we can live 1 more turn. And guys, that's the deck. That is not the part of the deck, but, we have sideboard for white. We don't have a sideboard in this deck because there's not really too much to sideboard with this, unfortunately. This is a very straightforward build. I try to choose the best units possible. We don't have a lot of utility because the problem with this deck is we are very stuck in what we can use. If we want to make maximum effect of this deck, we can only use Pterosaur or Emperor Beasts. We do have the option of splashing in Thunder Leo, which I did not put in there because I wanted to stop at 4 to continue to push and spam out units more because he has a 5 costing unit. We could put him in and change the flow of the deck a little to where we can have a bit of a more late game aspect to it. But mostly this deck pretty much builds itself in this very straightforward build. I went for the rush option because this gives us 2 paths to victory. We can rush them early game with a lot of small units, or we can hold out, reduce to Gogana King, and then start smashing face a little bit later in the game, but with more solid units and a bit more confront to be able to control the board. The downside to this deck is we have no armor units, and we're relying solely on our own BP for blocking. We do have confront, but we don't have confront with a lot of units. So they can pick and choose when to block, which is more advantageous for them. But again, our strength is we field a lot of units very quickly. We get our expert out almost immediately. So this is a deck that's a lot of give and take, but does work. So guys, let me know what you think. Playtesting went pretty well with this one. Armor doesn't slow down too much. The biggest disruptor we, of course, have is yellow with BP drain, but we're not as taxed as most decks are on that. The biggest issue we have is against purple with its core drain. That is the problem we have the most. So, guys, please let me know. Please don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back soon with a new deck profile next week. Thank you so much for watching.